2,000 years we've been talking about the apostles, and only Thomas has his own phrase, doubting Thomas. In a momentary flash of honesty, Thomas has become the embodiment of doubt for all time. I don't know about you, but I've always identified with Thomas in this story. After all, the other disciples got to see Jesus. Can't you understand Thomas's skepticism? Just how plausible was it that Jesus would be walking around 3 days after his very public execution? Would you believe such an outlandish tale on the word of a few of your friends? For who among us can say we have no doubts? In truth, we are all doubting Thomases. Just imagine sitting in that room with Thomas and the disciples. Can you feel how confused they must have been? Locked in a little room, scared half to death that they would be the next to be executed. Grieving the loss of their beloved teacher and leader. Wondering what it could possibly mean that they had seen him again. Unsure of their future. Torn between running away from their pain or staying in the hopes of resolution of some kind. Confused, grieving, unsure of the future. Sounds a little like a congregation, I know. Because let's be honest, there's been a fair amount of doubt floating around here in this past few months. Doubt that this was the congregation we thought it was. Doubt that this was the congregation we wanted to worship in. Doubt that those people could become our people again. Who among us can say we have no doubts? In truth, we are all doubting Thomases. Let's go back to Thomas and that small room overflowing with emotion. Enter Jesus. Not one to mince words, he goes straight to Thomas. Go ahead, he says, touch my hands. Thomas knows the real thing when he sees it. My Lord, my God. All doubt is gone. Thomas believes. Now, does Thomas get a dressing down from Jesus? I've always thought so. In the NRSV, Jesus says, because you've seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen me, and yet have believed. Kind of sounds like Thomas doesn't get blessed, doesn't it? But then I saw this image on the front of your bulletin from the National Cathedral's Resurrection Chapel. And suddenly, I don't believe there's a dressing down. Look at the face of Jesus. Look at the compassion enveloping Thomas. The love is tangible. Thomas's doubts are forgiven. And in this image, I recognize Jesus. Yes, it is just one artist's interpretation of something that happened 2,000 years ago. But I think the artist got Jesus right. This is the Jesus I know. Jesus, who can fill us with love by holding us in his eyes. Jesus, who has laid it all on the line for you and for me. Jesus, who knows our strengths and weaknesses. Jesus, who knows our struggles. Jesus, who knows our doubts and forgives us. Diane, you might be thinking, we don't get to see Jesus. If we are all like Thomas, all filled with doubts, how do we move beyond doubt to belief? We don't get to touch the hands of Jesus. I think we do. I think we get to touch the hands of Jesus. We get to see the wounds of Jesus. How? Because each of us are called to be the hands and feet of Jesus. As a congregation, we are called the body of Christ. We are called to touch as Jesus touched, to walk where Jesus walked, to dedicate ourselves, as imperfect as we may be, to building God's kingdom here on earth. touch like Jesus touched? How do we walk like Jesus walked? Jesus touched the sick and reached out to the children. Jesus walked with the poor, the marginalized, and the rejected. And who are we, First Christian Church? At our best, we touch the sick. We support the free clinic with our money, our time, and our talent. We are honored to worship with founders and longtime board members of the free clinic, Ann Bishop, Jack Scudder, Pete Warren, Jim Wright, among others. Our support for the Adult Care Center helps low-income seniors who need a safe, caring place to spend their days. We support the Pastoral Counseling Center, affirming that the love of God heals wounds of the mind and spirit as well as the body. Our prayer shawl ministry knits loving kindness into the form of a shawl so individuals struggling with illness can wrap themselves in a physical reminder of God's love. Yes, at our best, we touch the sick. Who are we, First Christian Church? At our best, we reach out to the children, and not just the familiar faces you see here every Sunday morning. Through tutoring, mentoring, and summer camp programs at churches for urban ministry, Lynchburg Covenant Fellowship, and Camp Kumbaya, we make a difference in the lives of children and youth living in poverty here in Lynchburg. Yes, we reach out to the children. Who are we, First Christian Church? At our best, we walk with the poor as Jesus walked, and provide tangible reminders of the love of God. Our food ministries include Rivermont Food Pantry, Daily Bread, and Meals on Wheels. Our housing ministries include Habitat for Humanity, Rebuilding Together, and L'Arche. Yes, we walk with the poor. Who are we, First Christian Church? At our best, we walk as Jesus walked with the outcasts. We sit down for dinner with the men at Gateway and struggling to find the path away from addiction. We work closely with Interfaith Outreach and its many programs, including the Progressive Release Program, which helps former and current prison inmates build life skills necessary to live in society. Yes, we walk with the outcasts. Who are we, First Christian Church? At our best, we walk as Jesus walked with those who are marginalized and rejected in our culture. We are proud to be an open and affirming church, creating a safe space for people of all sexual orientations to worship together the God who loves us all. You have heard Jill's story today, but sadly, that story is repeated countless times across Lynchburg and beyond. Imagine being told by your church that you are evil, deviant, just plain wrong. Imagine being told by your church that God does not love you. Here at First Christian Church, those who have been rejected are welcomed with open arms, as together we learn to walk closer to Jesus. It is with deep, deep sadness that we say farewell today to Mel White and Gary Dixon. They have guided us and inspired us as we worked through issues of sexual orientation here in the church. Their amazing experiences, their deep compassion, and their resilient sense of humor have made them guiding lights. Yet what a joy that Q&A, our newest ministry, will help us on this journey together. Surely God is gracious to send a new generation of young leaders just now to help us on this journey. Who are we, First Christian Church? We are the bearers of the good news that God's love encompasses us all, that the gift of God's grace is for us all. And who is it who does all of this? Who are these hands and feet of Christ, working to build God's kingdom in Lynchburg and beyond? each of us contributing at times and in ways as we are able. These are your hands, which are Christ's hands. These are your neighbor's hands, which are Christ's hands. This year, during the Easter season, we're placing a special emphasis on our local mission partners, those organizations we work with as we strive to do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly with God. Each Sunday, you'll have the opportunity to learn about a new mission, a different mission partner, through a moment for mission, like Jill's, thank you, Jill, and through a bulletin insert. Check in the narthex each week for more information about our local mission partners, and we have printed materials. And sign up in the narthex for more information about how you can support the mission partner of the week. And then on Pentecost, we will celebrate with a special ceremony, an ingathering of pledges of time to support our local ministries. We will remember these familiar, powerful words. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim the release of the captives and recovery of sight to the blind, to let the oppressed go free, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. On Pentecost, we will celebrate how much we already do as a church, and we will challenge ourselves to grow in service to our community. We will challenge ourselves to dig into the work of kingdom building with overflowing spirit and renewed dedication. So as we move through the Easter season, consider how the Spirit calls you to be a doer of the word, not just a hearer of the word, as James put it. All this doing, all this activity, all this effort, does it matter? Sometimes we doubt our actions make a difference. Just ask the mother who can feed her child dinner tonight. Does the Rivermont Food Pantry matter? Yes. Just ask a prisoner released from jail at 5 o'clock in the morning in her cocktail dress, who needs help getting to her home in another town. Does interfaith outreach matter? Yes. Just ask Jill, hearing the good news that God really does love her. Does Q&A matter? Yes. Does First Christian Church matter? Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, my friends, the time is now. We are in that small room with Thomas, and we too face a choice. Will we run from our pain? Or will we, like the apostles, stay to recreate the church while working to build God's kingdom on earth? Here in this small room, overflowing with emotion, Jesus is right here with us, inviting us to leave our doubts behind. So turn to your neighbor. Touch your neighbor's